Damaged by Playstyle 123, Chapter 9, Team 7, Naruto gazed at their teacher with a studying look. The man just I smiled at them. Sakura had yelled at him to introduce himself before they did. I'm Hayate Kakashi. I like and dislike many things. I have many hobbies. As for dreams, your turn, Pinky. Sakura twitched. Naruto smirked slightly. Finally, someone who understands secrecy, Naruto thought. I'm Haruno Sakura. I dislike Ino Pig. My hobbies are. My dreams are. With each pause, she glanced at Sasuke and blushed. You next, Sunshine, Kakashi said, waving absently at Sasuke. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. I like training. I dislike most things. My hobbies are training. My ambition, not dream. It is to kill a certain man, he said with venom. Kakashi gave a sigh and Naruto noticed his eyes swiveled to meet his own. You next, wild boy. Naruto raised a single elegant eyebrow. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. There was a pause as if they were waiting for more. Kakashi gave him an eye smile and proceeded to shock the other two. Naruto just idly listened to the speech on survival training and failing the gaining test. Naruto gazed at the small bell. The string wound around his fingers. He gently jolted it, making a tingling sound. Release around through the air. It had been easy. He had summoned a small fox to go grab it. The fox had snuck up on Kakashi as he was fighting Sasuke, snatched the bells and returned them to Naruto. Naruto had stuffed on his pocket, so he held on the other one. The soft silver bells swayed in the wind, and Naruto felt the breeze around him tug gently at his skin. Play with me. It giggled softly to his ears alone. He gazed at the sky through half-lidded eyes and threw a handful of leaves in the air. The breeze picked them up and spun them in a circle, giving the wind equivalent to a laugh. Wind was so easily amused. A moment later, it propped the leaves to tell him someone was coming. Seconds later, Kakashi stood on the branch, looking down at him from 5 feet away. Naruto idly swung his leg left as it hung over the branches. He gazed at their sensei through a half-lidded blue eye. Kakashi glanced at the small bell. Naruto bounced on a finger. Good job. Naruto didn't say anything, just listened to the whispers in his ear. Wind loved to carry things. Whispers smells anything. It loved gossip. The peace was ruined as the barrage of knives whistled through the air. Then the barrage of knives interrupted him as Kakashi leapt away. Sasuke landed in the man's place, sending Naruto a glare. The boys winded up seeing the. A moment later, Sasuke stood on the branch Kakashi had just stood in between some kunai. The boy sent him a glare, then his eye widening when he spotted the bell. He sneered, "Give me the bell!" Naruto looked at him and raised the bell as if to inspect it. Then he vanished with the wind, a small smile on his face. Naruto sat on one of the three stumps, close-legged, as Sakura was tied to the middle one. Sasuke was sitting on the grass eating his own lunch. Naruto ignored his own, shoving it in front of Sakura as he sliced her ropes with the thrown kunai. He ignored them in favor of watching the small centipede skitter across his hand. He had a few huge ones he could summon. You could find any number of animals in the forest of death, all grown to huge sizes, or more intelligent or sneaky than normal. It was like an animal reserve, as you couldn't really kill the animals in there, and there were rare ones. He would have to show Shino some of his butterflies sometimes. There were two main butterfly species in his forest. Some the size of his hand, considered small, that had brilliant designs on their wings, though mixed well enough to act as camouflage. The other ones were huge, about as long as his arm at least. They were mixtures of black, red, some purples, greens, and blues. Some one color, some mixture of all. They looked stunning when they burst into flight. Usually stayed in groups of 10 at the minimum. They never left his forest though, and stayed well out of sight, so few ever saw them. Naruto idly listened as Kakashi returned and went on about teamwork and congratulated him on passing the team. He just set the centipede down and, ignoring the cheers of Sakura and the smirk of Sasuke, sent a small breeze to find Shino. The boy would no doubt like to see his butterflies, and like any creatures in his forest, he could summon them. Naruto idly leaned into the hands that braided his hair. Kiyomaru behind him did it gently, and it made Naruto close his eyes softly, relaxing. Naruto inhaled the familiar scent of flowers that drifted through the open windows and pictures the garden full of flowers. He loved gardening. His eye opened reluctantly as Kiyomaru finished his braid. He stood and glanced at the clock. 11. Kakashi had said to meet at 8. Naruto had sent 2 colognes at 9. One would hide and then dispel itself when Kakashi arrived. The cologne had dispelled an hour ago. He would have to meet up before his second cologne was dispelled. Kiyomaru followed him out the door, but only waved him off as he vanished into the trees. The Kaguya hadn't been very happy, realizing he couldn't tell Naruto all the time, but had accepted it. Naruto watched the sun set as he stood on the balcony of the top floor. As the sun set, it lit the sky on fire with reds and oranges. He watched until it vanished from sight before moving back downstairs to the third floor, to the living room. As he reached it, he curled up on the mass of pillows and blankets on the floor. Kiyomaru joined him a moment. He joined him a moment later. His birthday was spent with only himself and Kiyomaru. The TV had been changed to a movie, and Naruto curled up like a small animal on the pile of flowers and blankets, resting his head in Kiyomaru's lap. The white-haired boy stroked his hair as the movie started. He felt like a child for just a moment as he lay there. His eye throbbed slightly as he pressed the heel of his hand to the empty socket. He felt like the damaged child once again, and he needed comfort. Sakura huffed in annoyance. "Where is Naruto?" She finally yelped, hopping to her feet. Sasuke sneered, and Kakashi just smiled. "I have no idea." She sent him a filthy look. "Can we go get him then? We were late, and you were late, and he's even later. I don't want to spend my time sitting here," she yelled. "We can't go get him," Kakashi shrugged, flipping a page in his book. "Why not?" Sasuke asked. Interest piqued. "You wouldn't get into his house alive," Sasuke snorted, "as if the dope would keep me out." Kakashi sent him a flat look. The kids still think Uzumaki is a dope, he wondered. "Why not Kakashi?" Sakura asked instead. He had some guard animals," Kakashi said, eye smiling. "So?" Sasuke asked. "They're vicious. Tore apart some other people once." That ended the subject. Finally, after another few minutes, a boy appeared walking towards them. Said boy had light green eyes, white hair, red markings, and wore a set of black pants with a deep purple kimono top, which hung open, tied at his waist with a deep blue sash. Kakashi slid his book away as he recognized the Kaguya. Everyone had been shocked when Uzumaki had returned to Konoha with the last Kaguya as his loyal vassal. The council had tried to get the Kaguya to join Konoha's ranks and breed his bloodline, but the teen refused. And as he was under Naruto's protection, there was little they could do. They had tried to order Uzumaki to make the teen do so, but the blonde had laughed in their faces. They couldn't do anything, and Uzumaki gained a loyal follower, not a part of the Konoha exactly. "Hatake," the teen greeted, bowing his head slightly. "Who are you?" Sasuke sneered before Kakashi could respond. Kaguya looked down his nose at the boy, then turned to Kakashi. "I'm Kaguya Kiyomaru." "You're the Kaguya?" Sakura squeaked. The bookworm would surely know of the war-loving clan. "Hi." She gazed at him with respect and awe. Sasuke snorted. "I have come to inform you that Naruto-sama is busy on a project and shall not be able to meet for a few days at most." Kakashi gave a nod. "Naruto-sama?" Sakura asked before bursting out into giggles. "You're Naruto's vassal," Sasuke sneered in distaste. It wasn't a surprise. He knew. Almost all of Konoha did. They also knew not to insult Naruto in front of the teen. "Hi," the teen answered. "You should ditch the dope and be a vassal to me," Sasuke said absently. Kakashi sighed. Sometimes Sasuke made himself look like such a moron. It was never grating at times. Suddenly there was a bone knife at Sasuke's throat. Everyone froze. Never call Naruto-sama that in front of me again," the boy whispered menacingly. Sasuke gave a jerk nod. The knife slunk back into pale flesh, and Kiyomaru straightened. The teen strode off again. "Sasuke, think before you speak next time. People like that are instantly loyal and can be a bit odd," Kakashi said before pulling his book out again. The cat in his arms purred softly, enjoying his petting. The orange cat was perfectly fine being carried back to the Hokage's tower in the blonde's arms. He could feel the bond the boy shared with animals and understood he wouldn't hurt him, but pet him. As they arrived, the daimyo's wife scooped the cat up, cooing over it and hugging it to death. Naruto just watched before turning to the Hokage. "Next mission," he said. Where's the rest of Team 7? Still looking for Tora. Everyone in the room sweat drop. End of Chapter 9. Damaged by Police Dial 123, Chapter 10, C rank. Naruto gazed at the Hokage and the Hokage stared back. Neither blinked or moved their stare. After 5 minutes, the watchers began to wonder what they were doing with their stare down. Finally, the Hokage blinked. He huffed. Fine, you win. I'll give you a C rank. Just like that, Sakura yelled in disbelief. He did beat me in a staring contest, the Hokage said as if that answered everything. Most sweat dropped as Sarutobi held out a scroll and Kakashi took it. Your job will be to escort a bridge builder to Wave and protect him from bandits as he finishes his bridge. They nodded, and the Hokage nodded to a guard who let a man in. Said man looked at them. I pay good money and I get a bunch of 15-year-old kids, he scoffed. An emo boy with a funny hairstyle, a girl with pink hair and a huge forehead, and a wild-looking kid. Naruto gave him a flat stare and moved to the window, hopping onto the sill. Meet at the gate in 2 hours, Naruto, Kakashi said absently as he held Sakura back from murdering the old man. Naruto gave a curt nod before he was gone. Naruto watched the Sasuke dealt with the one brother with the few fleshy flips. The second leapt for him, and before anyone could do so much as gasp, he had summoned his spear from the tattoo band around his arm. It slid into his hand quickly and sliced through the air. He moved. A moment later, the brother's head was on the ground at 10 feet from his body. Tazuna rushed to the bush and threw up as the blood splattered everywhere. Sakura looked a bit green also. Sasuke was even staring. Kakashi reappeared in front of the last brother, who was staring at his brother's corpse in a numb silence. Good job, Naruto. The others seemed shocked that he had congratulated Naruto, but that was the way of shinobi assassination. He dragged the other brother off to interrogate, and Naruto knew when he returned the second would be dead. Naruto watched the fight with calm eyes. He could see the two were evenly matched, almost perfectly evenly matched. The others thought Zabuza was a demon for how cruel he acted and the kills on his name, but they didn't realize Kakashi could be just as cruel and had even more kills on his name. Sometimes being naive was a wonderful feeling, like looking through a rose-colored glass, seeing the world just as you wanted, seeing it in black and white, seeing yourself on the good side. He watched them silently cheer Kakashi on and gave a loathing smirk. Of course they wanted Kakashi to win. He was the good guy. Zabuza was evil. So innocent. Naruto, for a brief second, thought about helping Zabuza win just to show the world didn't work the way they wanted it to, but then he discarded the idea. He may not be loyal to Konoha, but he was loyal to Sarutobi Gigi. So as Kakashi was trapped, he stepped forwards. At the same time, Sasuke and Sakura looked unsure of fighting or running. As Naruto stepped forwards, though, Sasuke shook his head and launched at Zabuza, hands flying through signs. A fireball leapt from his mouth. Zabuza just laughed, using one hand sign to make a small water wall that cancelled the fire out. Sasuke frowned. A moment later, a water clone had thrown him back. He hit the ground hard, losing his air. Naruto looked at the gasping boy blankly, then turned to Zabuza. Kakashi had quieted as he met his eyes. Naruto stepped forward, softly moving at an even pace till he reached the edge of the water. Zabuza looked at Kakashi as he hadn't yelled at Naruto to run like he had when Sasuke attacked. Not going to tell the Gaki to run like the other, the man snorted. Looks like he doesn't care for your health as much as he does the other kid, Gaki. Naruto ignored the words, knowing the real reason Kakashi had shut up. He knew Naruto could do something. Naruto slid the sleeve off his coat up, showing his left tattooed arm. Zabuza paused to stare a moment. Naruto bit his finger and followed the small symbols with his eyes. When he reached the one he wanted, he smeared the blood on it, mentally counting how many he wanted. A puff of smoke, 5 huge fish appeared in the air, dropping into the lake. When he wanted a puff of smoke, huge 5 fish appeared in the air, dropping into the lake. They were each as big as a sheep and had huge sharp teeth. They looked like giant piranhas. Everyone stared at them a moment. Kill him, Naruto said simply. They were gone under the water a second later. Zabuza snarled, watching the water patiently. A moment later, they leaped out of the water at him. He snarled and pulled his arm for the water prison, leaping back. Kakashi hit the water and was immediately sucked under. He struggled to get out and found himself losing strength quickly. He was trying to reserve his strength and chakra to fight off Zabuza, but it wasn't helping now. Suddenly something hit his back and jerked him. Something had hooked onto his thick vest and was pulling him back, none too gently. For a moment his blood ran cold. Naruto had only said killed had only said, "Kill him," but who had he been referring to? He struggled a moment as he was jerkingly dragged through the water. What if one of those fish had come for him, and this thick vest was all that had stopped it? Suddenly, something grabbed his collar and he was dragged upwards. He gasped from breath as he breached the surface and was dragged onto land. Naruto stared down at him blankly. The fish that had dragged Kakashi along swam off towards the other fish Zabuza was fighting. The three seemed to have dismissed themselves already before being killed. Zabuza wasn't unscathed though. His one leg was bleeding heavily along with his left arm and his side. Kakashi coughed up some water and tried to move away from Naruto slightly. He still couldn't figure the boy out. He didn't seem loyal to the village but fought for it. He was loyal to someone inside. Kakashi was betting the Hokage, but that still might not stop Naruto from turning on them in an instant. Zabuza snarled and swung at a fish. The thing vanished in a puff of smoke just as his sword came within an inch of killing. There they were summoned, but he hadn't heard of a fish summoning. He looked up at the enemy as the last fish vanished. He had seen Kakashi struggle violently against the fish as if he thought his own teammate would sick them on him. Even now, as he lay on the ground at the blonde's feet, he was trying to shift away. The boy Kakashi was afraid of him in his weakened state, or at least wary. It said the boy wasn't completely loyal to his village or despite Kakashi. Zabuza didn't know if this was good or bad. He watched cautiously as Kakashi dragged himself to his knees. The blonde was a wild card. Suddenly the boy was only a few feet away, fist raised. Zabuza's eyes widened at his speed. The fist collided with his chest a moment later, and he was blown back by a vicious force. He could feel wind slice through his skin, and his eyes widened. The boy had a wind affinity, not good. He grit his teeth as he hit a tree hard. He could barely stand. Just as he saw the boy about to move, there was a sharp pain in his neck, and he collapsed into darkness. Naruto set Kakashi down on the futon laid out for him and covered him with a blanket. He suffered from chakra depletion. Naruto left him and returned to the living room downstairs. He sat at the table next to Tazuna and thanked Tsunami as she handed him a bowl of rice. He was just about to bite when the door to the house swung open. Immediately, Sakura, Sasuke, and he had kunai in their hands. Naruto put his kunai away as he saw a panicking Kimimaro in the doorway. The white-haired boy quickly stepped over to Naruto and bowed. "Hokage-sama got Kakashi's message that you were attacked by the demon brothers, and I came straight away, Naruto-sama." Naruto gave a small nod. "Sit, please, Kimimaro." The Kage sat down beside Naruto. "This is Kimimaro," Naruto introduced. "Kimimaro, this is Tazuna, our client, his daughter, Tazumi, his grandson, Inari, and my team." Kimimaro bowed his head in greetings. Naruto, noticing he was short of breath and knew he had come as fast as he could, a good 2 days' run, Naruto silently handed over his bowl of rice to the teen. "Naruto-sama, eat, then rest. Kakashi is sleepy and it is late, so there is nothing we need to do." The boy nodded curtly. Naruto sighed inaudibly and ignored the glances coming his way. End of chapter 10.